The ships came without warning. One moment the sky was clear. The next moment, 300 massive vessels blocked out the sun over every major city on Earth. They were black and silver, shaped like curved blades, and each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the carrier, Defiance, and watched his screens fill with red alerts. His fleet of 40 ships floated near the moon, and they looked like toys compared to the alien armada. "Sir, they are broadcasting on all frequencies," his communications officer said. "Every television, every radio, every phone on Earth is receiving their message." Morrison clenched his jaw. "Put it on screen." A face appeared. It was humanoid but wrong. Gray skin stretched over sharp bones. 4 eyes blinked in sequence. When it spoke, the translator made its voice sound smooth and calm. "People of Earth, I am Ambassador Zethril of the Galactic Dominion. Your planet has been discovered and cataloged. You will now receive the compliance protocols. You have 72 hours to accept them. Failure to comply will result in corrective integration." The screen changed to show a document. Page after page of rules scrolled past. Morrison counted 847 separate demands. Surrender all military vessels. Pay tribute of 30% of all planetary resources. Allow Dominion observers in all government buildings. Register the genetic code of every human being. Accept Dominion law as supreme authority. Morrison had seen enough. He opened a channel to Earth. "Get me Secretary Grant, now." In Geneva, Secretary Lisa Grant was already reading the protocols on her tablet. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 30 years in diplomacy, but she had never seen anything like this. "They want us to give up everything," said President Joe, his face pale on the video screen. "They want us to become slaves," said Prime Minister Adams from London. Grant looked up from the tablet. "They want us to be afraid." The world leaders argued for 6 hours. Some wanted to accept the protocols. The alien fleet was too powerful. Fighting would mean death. Others wanted to resist. Better to die free than live as servants. Grant listened to all of them. Then she made a call to Admiral Morrison. "Admiral, how long can you hold them if they attack?" Morrison did not hesitate. 72 hours. Maybe less. And if you had more ships? There was a pause. Then Morrison smiled for the first time that day. "Madam Secretary, I think it is time to show you what we have been building." The screen changed to show images from secret facilities across the solar system. Hidden shipyards on Mars. Weapons platforms buried under the moon's surface. Factories on asteroids that have been working day and night for 20 years. "We have 120 combat ships ready to fight," Morrison said. "Another 60 can be activated within 48 hours. We also have something special. Project Thunderbolt. Weapons designed to punch through any shield." Grant felt hope rise in her chest. "You knew this day would come. We hoped it would not. But we prepared anyway. That is what humans do." Grant ended the call and turned back to the world leaders. "We have a choice. We can kneel and hope they treat us well. Or we can stand and show them what humanity is made of." President Joe shook his head. "Their fleet is massive. Their technology is beyond ours. How can we win?" "Because they expect us to surrender," Grant said. "Every other species they have met gave up without a fight. They have protocols because protocols always worked. They do not know what war really looks like." She picked up the tablet with the 847 protocols. Then she deleted every page except one. On that page, she typed a single message: "We decline." On the Dominion flagship, Ambassador Zethril received the human response. He stared at it for a long moment, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. "This is not possible," he said to High Executor Varath, the military commander standing beside him. No species has ever refused the protocols. Vorath was tall and broad, with armor that gleamed under the ship's lights. He had commanded 100 integration operations. None of them had required actual combat. "They are primitive," Vorath said. "They do not understand what they face. Send the enforcement vessels. A small show of force will change their minds." Zethral nodded slowly. "Perhaps you are right. They simply need to see our power." 20 enforcement vessels broke from the main fleet and moved toward Earth. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. But as they moved, something changed. Signals began appearing on their sensors. New contacts rising from the dark side of the moon. More contacts launching from Mars. Others emerging from the asteroid belt. What is this? Vorath demanded that his officer check the readings twice before answering. "Executor, the humans have a fleet." A real fleet. 180 vessels and counting. Vorath felt something he had not felt in centuries. Doubt. On the Defiance. Admiral Morrison watched his ships take position around Earth. Pilots climbed into fighters. Marines loaded their weapons. Engineers ran final checks on the new Thunderbolt cannons. Secretary Grant's voice came through on a private channel. "Admiral, I am sending one more message to the Dominion. I want them to understand exactly who they are dealing with." "What does it say, Madam Secretary?" Grant smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "It says, we have read your protocols. We have a counterproposal. Come and take our answer if you dare." Morrison laughed. It was a good laugh, full of the joy that came before battle. Around him, his crew heard it and felt their fear fade away. The Dominion wanted Earth to kneel. Earth was about to show them what happened when humans chose to stand. High Executor Vorath stood on the bridge of his command ship and watched the human fleet spread across his view screen. His officers were silent. None of them had ever seen a species do this before. 183 vessels, his second officer reported. More are still arriving. They were hidden throughout their solar system. "Hidden," Vorath repeated. "They were preparing for us." Ambassador Zethral stepped forward, his 4 eyes narrow with worry. "This changes nothing. Our fleet is still larger. Our technology is still superior. One demonstration of power will break their will." Vorath was not so sure anymore. He had studied the human ships through his sensors. They were crude things, built from metal and fire. They used chemical rockets and nuclear reactors. Their weapons appeared to be simple projectile launchers, but there were so many of them. And they had hidden them well. "Send a message," Vorath ordered. "Tell them this is their final chance to comply." On the Defiance, Captain Ryan Cole read the Dominion message and shook his head. He was young for a captain, only 35, but he had trained his whole life for this moment. "They are threatening us again, Admiral," Cole said. "Same words, different day." Admiral Morrison stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. "Let them talk. Every minute they spend talking is a minute we spend getting ready." In the weapons bay below, Dr. Maria Santos ran her hands over the first Thunderbolt cannon. She was a small woman with dark hair and tired eyes. She had not slept in 3 days. "Final calibration complete," she said to her team. "These cannons fire tungsten rounds at 15% of light speed. No shield in the galaxy can stop that much kinetic energy." Her assistant looked nervous. "Are you sure, Doctor?" "The Dominion shields have stopped everything else." Santos smiled. Everything else was energy weapons. Lasers, plasma, particle beams. The Dominion has been fighting the same way for 10,000 years. They have forgotten that sometimes the old ways work best. She patted the cannon like it was a pet. A rock moving fast enough can kill anything. Back on the Dominion flagship, Lieutenant Kethra monitored communications from the human fleet. She was young by Dominion standards, only 2 centuries old. She had joined the military to see the galaxy, not to conquer it. What she heard confused her. The humans were not panicking. They were not begging for mercy. They were laughing, joking, singing songs about battle and glory. "Executor," she said carefully. "The humans do not seem afraid." Vorath turned to look at her. "All species are afraid of us. They are simply hiding it." "Perhaps," Kethra said. But she did not believe it. Secretary Grant arrived at Earth Defense Command with a folder in her hand. Inside was humanity's official response to the Dominion. 1 page, 5 sentences. She handed it to Admiral Morrison. He read it aloud. "The people of Earth reject your protocols. We will not surrender our ships. We will not pay tribute. We will not register our people. We offer instead a treaty between equals. If you cannot accept this, then we have nothing more to discuss." Morrison looked up. Direct and simple. "I like it. Send it," Grant said. "Let us see what they do." The message reached the Dominion flagship in seconds. Ambassador Zethral read it 3 times, certain he was missing something. "They reject everything," he said. "They offer nothing except equality. Do they not understand their position?" Vorath had heard enough. "Launch the enforcement action. All vessels move to attack formation. We will destroy 10% of their fleet as punishment. Then they will comply." 200 Dominion warships surged forward. Their engines burned bright blue against the black of space. They moved with perfect precision, each ship knowing its role. The human fleet did not retreat. Instead, defense platforms hidden on the moon came alive. Metal doors opened in crater walls. Weapons rose from underground bunkers. Targeting systems locked onto the approaching enemy. Admiral Morrison gave the order. "Open fire." The first Thunderbolt rounds crossed the void in less than a second. They struck the lead Dominion ship at its center. The ship's shields flashed bright purple as they tried to stop the projectiles. They failed. The tungsten rounds punched through the shields like they were not there. They tore through the ship's hull, out the other side, and kept going. The Dominion vessel broke apart in a bloom of fire and debris. Vorath watched in shock as 3 more of his ships died in the next 10 seconds. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our shields are impenetrable." "Not to kinetic weapons," Kethra said quietly. "They are throwing metal at us. Just metal. Moving very fast." It was so simple, so primitive. And it was tearing the Dominion fleet apart. Captain Cole led his squadron into the battle, weaving between enemy ships and targeting their engines. Human fighters were small and fast, harder to hit than the big Dominion cruisers. "Focus on their propulsion," Cole ordered. "A ship that cannot move cannot fight." His pilots followed his lead. One by one, Dominion engines went dark. Disabled ships drifted helplessly as more human vessels closed in. Within 1 hour, the Dominion had lost 40 ships. The humans had lost 6. Vorath stared at his tactical display. Red markers showed destroyed vessels. Yellow markers showed damaged ones. His beautiful fleet was bleeding. "Recall all ships," he ordered. "Pull back to safe distance." Ambassador Zethral grabbed his arm. "You cannot retreat. The Dominion has never retreated. The protocols demand we continue until compliance is achieved." Vorath shook off his grip. "The protocols did not prepare us for this." As the Dominion fleet withdrew, Morrison allowed himself a small smile. The first battle was won, but he knew this was only the beginning. "They will come back with more ships," he said to Secretary Grant. "This was just a taste." Grant nodded. "Then we will be ready." On his flagship, Vorath composed a message to the Dominion homeworld. He chose his words carefully, knowing they would change everything. "Earth has refused compliance. First enforcement action has failed. The humans fight without fear. Request full battle fleet. This is no longer an integration. This is a war. He sent the message and waited. Behind him, Cathra watched the human ships celebrate their victory. She wondered if perhaps the protocols had been wrong all along. The Dominion reinforcements arrived 2 weeks later. 2,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They formed a wall of metal and energy that stretched across 1,000,000 kilometers. It was the largest fleet the Dominion had deployed in 3 centuries. Admiral Morrison watched them on his screen. His fleet had grown to 210 ships. Against 2,000, those numbers meant nothing. "We cannot fight them head-on," Captain Cole said. "They will crush us." "I know," Morrison replied. "So we will not fight head-on. We will make them bleed for every kilometer they advance." The human fleet pulled back to the moon. They hid among the craters and set traps in the asteroid fields. They turned the solar system into a maze of death. The Dominion advanced slowly. Every time they moved forward, something attacked them. Mines hidden in debris clouds. Missiles launched from hollowed-out asteroids. Hit-and-run strikes from fast human squadrons. High Executor Varth grew frustrated. He had expected a quick victory. Instead, his fleet lost ships every hour. The humans were like insects, stinging and retreating before he could swat them. "Find their main fleet," he ordered. "Destroy it and this war ends." Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips led the fighter squadrons that harassed the Dominion advance. She was the best pilot in the fleet, with reflexes that bordered on supernatural. Her call sign was Ghost, because enemies never saw her coming. "Squadron 3, target that cruiser's engines," she ordered. "Squadron 4, cover our retreat." Her fighters dove toward a Dominion cruiser, firing their cannons in short bursts. The cruiser's weapons tried to track them, but they moved too fast. Engine compartments exploded. The cruiser began to drift. "Good hits," Phillips said. "Fall back to point 7. They vanished into the darkness before the Dominion could respond. On the ground, Sergeant Ben Torres prepared his Marines for the unthinkable. If the Dominion broke through the fleet, they would invade Earth. His job was to make that invasion as painful as possible. "Listen up," he told his squad. "These aliens think they know what war is. They do not. They have spent 10,000 years bullying weaker species into submission. They have never faced soldiers who actually want to fight." Private Jenny Walsh raised her hand. "Sarge, what if their ground troops are tougher than us?" Torres smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then we will find out together. But I am betting they are soft. Soft from centuries of easy victories. We are going to teach them what hard looks like." The main battle came near Neptune. Morrison had chosen a location carefully. The gas giant storms interfered with Dominion sensors. Its many moons provided cover for ambush. The Dominion fleet would have to come to him if they wanted to reach Earth. Vorath led his fleet into the trap. "All ships, full attack," he commanded. "Overwhelm them with numbers." The Dominion fleet surged forward in a massive wave. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Shields flared as ships exchanged fire. Morrison waited until the enemy was fully committed. Then he sprang the trap. Activate the kinetic platforms. Hidden on Neptune's moons, massive railguns powered up. They had been built in secret, disguised as mining equipment. Each one could fire a building-sized projectile at incredible speed. The first volley struck the center of the Dominion fleet. 20 ships died in an instant. Their shields meant nothing against chunks of iron moving at a fraction of light speed. The projectiles went through one ship and hit another behind it. Chain reactions of destruction rippled through the Dominion formation. Varth watched in horror as his fleet came apart. "Pull back," he screamed. "Regroup at safe distance." But the humans did not let them regroup. Captain Cole led his squadron directly into the chaos, targeting command ships and communication relays. If we break their coordination, they become a mob, Cole told his pilots. Keep hitting the officers. His ship took a direct hit. Alarms screamed. Fire erupted in the engine room. But Cole kept fighting. Damage report, he called. Engines at 40%. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. We lost 12 crew. Cole felt the loss like a punch to his chest. But he could not stop now. Keep firing. We are not done yet. On the Dominion flagship, Lieutenant Kethra made a decision. She had watched enough of this slaughter. The humans were not monsters. They were simply people who refused to be conquered. She opened a secure channel to the human fleet. This is Lieutenant Kethra of the Dominion. I wish to defect. I have information about fleet movements and command codes. Please respond. Morrison himself answered her call. Why should we trust you? Because I have seen enough death, Kethra said. The protocols are wrong. Your people have shown me that resistance is possible. I want to help you end this war. Morrison considered for a moment. Send your coordinates. We will pick you up. The Battle of Neptune lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Dominion had lost 800 ships. The humans had lost 53. Varth retreated with what remained of his fleet. He sent another message to the homeworld. This time, with recordings of the battle. Emperor Kethforin watched the footage in his throne room. He saw human ships charging into impossible odds. He saw human pilots laughing as they fought. He saw human soldiers boarding Dominion vessels and capturing them through sheer aggression. These humans do not fear death, Varth's voice said in the recording. They welcome it. They find joy in battle. I do not know how to defeat an enemy that loves to fight. The Emperor leaned back in his throne. He had ruled the Dominion for 1,000 years. He had seen 100 species bend to his will, but he had never seen anything like humanity. Send everything, he ordered. Every ship, every soldier. If we cannot break them, we will drown them in bodies. The final battle was coming. The full might of the Galactic Dominion arrived 1 month later. 5,000 warships. 2 million soldiers. Weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. The Emperor had stripped defenses from 100 star systems to build this armada. Admiral Morrison looked at the sensor data and felt his heart sink. His fleet had grown to 300 ships. Many were damaged from previous battles. His crews were exhausted. Ammunition was running low. We cannot win this, Captain Cole said quietly. He had survived the Battle of Neptune, but his ship was held together with patches and prayers. We do not need to win, Morrison replied. We need to make them pay so much that they never want to fight us again. Secretary Grant arrived at the command center with General Patricia Webb, the ground forces commander. Webb was a tall woman with scars on her face and steel in her eyes. If they reach Earth, we are ready, Webb said. Every city has defenses. Every citizen who can hold a weapon has one. They will take our planet street by street, house by house. And they will pay in blood for every step. Grant nodded. Let us hope it does not come to that. Chief Engineer Sam Nakamura had not slept in a week. His teams had been working around the clock, repairing damaged ships and building new weapons. Now he had one more miracle to perform. The captured Dominion ships, he told Morrison. We have figured out how to merge their shield technology with our hulls. 20 of our ships now have hybrid defenses. Morrison raised an eyebrow. Dominion shields and human weapons on the same ship? Nakamura smiled tiredly. It was not easy, but these ships can take hits that would destroy normal vessels. And they can dish out punishment that no Dominion ship can survive. Lieutenant Kethra provided the intelligence that shaped Morrison's strategy. She showed them where the Emperor's command ship would be. She revealed the communication frequencies the Dominion used. She explained the rigid hierarchy that made Dominion fleets slow to adapt. "They follow orders from the top," she said. "If you kill the commanders, the ships beneath them will hesitate. They are not trained to think for themselves." "Then we go for the head," Morrison decided. "One strike at the Emperor's ship. Everything else is a distraction." The final battle began near Mars. The Dominion fleet advanced in perfect formation, a wall of ships that blocked out the stars. Energy weapons charged. Fighters launched by the thousands. It was a display of power meant to crush human hope. Morrison's fleet met them head-on. It was not a fair fight. Human ships exploded by the dozens. Fighters were swatted from the sky. The defensive platforms Morrison had built were overwhelmed and destroyed. But the humans did not break. Captain Cole led the 23rd Squadron in a desperate charge toward the center of the Dominion formation. His mission was simple: reach the Emperor's ship and destroy it. "All ships follow me," Cole ordered. "Anyone who wants to live forever, this is not the mission for you." His squadron of 15 ships plunged into the enemy fleet. Dominion cruisers fired from every direction. Shields failed. Hulls cracked. Ships died. Cole kept going. "Port shields gone," his officer reported. "Starboard engines failing. We have fires on 6 decks." "Keep moving," Cole said. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. He could see the Emperor's ship ahead, a massive vessel covered in gold and silver. Only 3 human ships remained. Then 2. Then just Cole's battered cruiser, trailing smoke and flame through the void. He was close enough now. Close enough to see the fear in the Dominion faces as they realized what he was doing. "All hands, abandon ship," Cole ordered. "Get to the escape pods." "That is an order." His crew refused. They stayed at their stations, firing weapons that barely worked. Keeping the ship alive just a little longer, Cole aimed his ship at the Emperor's vessel and pushed the engines to maximum on the Dominion flagship. Emperor Kethvoran watched the human ship coming. He had time to escape. His guards urged him to flee, but he stood frozen, unable to look away from the burning vessel heading straight for him. "Why will they not stop?" he whispered. "Why do they not fear death?" Cole's ship struck the Emperor's vessel at full speed. The collision tore through shields, armor, and hull. Both ships crumpled together in a massive explosion that lit up the battlefield. The Emperor survived. His command deck had been reinforced enough to protect him, but his ship was crippled, drifting helplessly in space. Without orders from their Emperor, the Dominion fleet faltered. Ships stopped advancing. Commanders waited for instructions that never came. Morrison seized the moment. "Operation Steel Rain," he ordered. Now, from the asteroid belt, 40 mining ships accelerated toward the Dominion fleet. They were not warships. They were bulk carriers, loaded with millions of tons of rock and metal. The Dominion saw them coming but could not stop them. The mining ships released their cargo at maximum velocity. Asteroids the size of buildings hurtled through space, smashing into Dominion vessels. It was not elegant. It was not precise. But it was devastating. The Dominion fleet shattered. Ships fled in every direction, their formation destroyed, their will broken. The Emperor's crippled flagship drifted among the wreckage. Surrounded by the ghosts of his armada. Morrison watched the retreat and felt no joy. Too many good people had died. Captain Cole and his crew, hundreds of pilots and Marines, thousands of soldiers who had given everything. But Earth was safe. Secretary Grant stood beside him. "They will come back." "Maybe," Morrison said, "but not today. Today we showed them that humans are not slaves. Today we made them remember what fear feels like." On the drifting Dominion flagship, Emperor Kethvoran sat alone on his broken throne. His grand fleet was scattered. His reputation was ruined. His protocols had failed. He thought about the human captain who had crashed into his ship. A man who chose death to protect his world. A man who smiled as he flew into oblivion. The Emperor had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. Now he understood what it felt like to be afraid. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered. Humanity was something new, something dangerous, something that changed everything. The ceasefire request came 3 days after the battle. Emperor Kethvorin himself sent the message. His words were careful, formal, and completely different from the arrogant demands that had started the war. To the people of Earth, we request an end to hostilities. We are prepared to negotiate. Secretary Grant read the message to a room full of world leaders. For a moment, nobody spoke. They had spent months preparing to die. The idea of victory had seemed impossible. Is this a trick? President Joe asked. Admiral Morrison shook his head. Their fleet is broken. They lost 3,000 ships. It would take them decades to rebuild. This is real. Grant stood up. Then we will meet them. But this time, we write the terms. The negotiations took place on a space station in neutral territory, far from Earth and far from Dominion space. Both sides came with fleets at their backs, but weapons stayed silent. Ambassador Derek Hayes led the human delegation. He was a former soldier who had lost his arm in the Battle of Neptune. He wore his injury openly, a reminder of what humanity had sacrificed. Emperor Kethvorin came in person. His pride would not let him send a lesser representative. He sat across from Hayes, his 4 eyes studying the human with new respect. You asked for equality, the Emperor said. We are prepared to grant it. Hayes did not smile. Equality is not a gift you give. It is something we already have. We are here to discuss what comes next. The negotiations lasted 2 weeks. Every detail was argued, examined, and recorded. The Dominion had never negotiated with another species before. They had only dictated terms. Hayes presented humanity's demands. Full recognition as an equal power. The abolition of the compliance protocols. Freedom for any Dominion citizen who wished to leave the Empire. A mutual defense treaty against common threats. The Dominion counselors argued against every point. They said the protocols had maintained peace for millennia. They said equality would cause chaos. They said the Empire would collapse without its rules. Elder Suthra listened to the debates in silence. She was ancient, even by Dominion standards, over 4,000 years old. She remembered a time before the protocols, before the Empire had grown fat and lazy on easy conquests. Finally, she spoke. I remember when we were young, she said. When we explored the stars with wonder instead of greed. When we met new species and learned from them instead of crushing them. The protocols made us strong, but they also made us cruel. She turned to the Emperor. These humans have shown us what we lost. They fight with joy. They sacrifice for each other. They refuse to bow, even when death is certain. Perhaps it is time we remembered how to be worthy of respect instead of demanding fear. The Emperor sat in silence for a long moment. Then he nodded. The protocols are abolished. Earth will be recognized as an equal. We will negotiate in good faith. The treaty was signed on a cold morning in December. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to witness it. For the first time in history, humanity had a seat at the galactic table. Admiral Morrison attended the ceremony in his dress uniform. He looked tired. The war had cost him friends, colleagues, and years of his life. But he stood straight and proud as the signatures were recorded. Secretary Grant found him afterward, standing alone on an observation deck. You should be celebrating, she said. Morrison shook his head. Too many people died for me to celebrate. Cole, his crew, thousands of others. They gave everything so we could stand here today. Their sacrifice mattered, Grant said. Because of them, our children will never know what it feels like to kneel. On Earth, the news of peace spread like wildfire. People filled the streets, cheering and crying. Humanity had faced the greatest threat in its history and survived. Young Ensign Chris Palmer watched the celebrations from the bridge of his small patrol ship. He was 22 years old. He had joined the fleet 6 months ago and had survived 3 battles. Through luck and stubbornness, now he looked at the stars and wondered what came next. Lieutenant Kethra found him there. She had been granted asylum on Earth and now served as an advisor to the fleet. She was the first Dominion citizen to become a human ally, but she would not be the last. What are you thinking? She asked. Palmer smiled. I am thinking about how big the galaxy is. We spent all this time fighting just to survive. Now we actually get to explore. Kethra nodded. My people built an empire through fear. Perhaps yours will build something better. Something built on respect, Palmer said. Something built on choice. Across the galaxy, news of Earth's victory spread. Species that had lived under Dominion rule for thousands of years heard the story. A primitive world. A people who had never traveled beyond their own star. They had faced the full might of the Empire and won. Rebellions began. Small at first. Hidden whispers of defiance. But they grew. Other species started to remember what freedom meant. They started to believe that the protocols could be challenged. The Dominion had ruled through fear. Now that fear was gone. Secretary Grant gave one final address to the people of Earth. She stood in front of the United Nations, the treaty in her hand. 3 months ago, they came with protocols. Rules designed to crush our spirit and steal our future. They expected us to surrender. They expected us to be afraid. She paused, her eyes bright with pride. We laughed. We built ships and weapons. We fought with everything we had. We lost friends and family. We paid in blood for every victory. But we never stopped. We never knelt. We never forgot who we are. Her voice rose, carrying across the silent crowd. They came with protocols. We answered with steel. And today, the galaxy knows what humanity is made of. Today, we take our place among the stars. Not as servants, not as slaves, but as equals, as warriors, as humans. The crowd erupted in cheers. High above Earth, Ensign Palmer watched the planet turn beneath him. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Home. He thought about Captain Cole, who had died so that others could live. He thought about the thousands who had sacrificed everything. He thought about the future they had bought with their courage. The stars waited. Countless worlds, countless mysteries, countless adventures. Humanity had earned its place among them, and this was only the beginning.